Hi, I'm Julie Langenkamp-Muenkel. I'm the editor-in-chief of informationmanagement.com, and I'm here at TDWI's World Conference in Las Vegas. I'm joined by Dave Wells, who is a consultant particularly interested in the space where data and business meet, and you're also an instructor here at TDWI. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. One of the courses you're teaching, which I understand is a new course, is about BI principles and practices. Can you tell me a little bit about why the new course and who you're speaking to and the types of topics you discuss?
Okay, certainly. It's a sort of an introductory and broad survey course for BI. And it replaces an old course that was known as BI Fundamentals. And that old BI Fundamentals course was predicated mostly on data warehousing and has for years been updated to extend data warehousing as the field of business intelligence has grown and expanded and added new topics. And it seems that we've arrived at the point where data warehousing is a relatively small part of the whole BI discussion. And there's a lot of other things that go on in business intelligence that are at least as significant, many of them more so than BI. So it seemed like time to go back to the base and rebuild the introductory stuff from the ground up.
Sure. So what are some of the technologies and trends that are really driving that change?
The one that gets a lot of attention right now is big data. And big data is certainly interesting and one of the areas that's exciting to explore, but there's a lot more to big data than the popular stuff that, you know, the 3 V's that are so often quoted: volume, velocity, and variety. A lot of the stuff that goes on in big data is about the flexibility that we have now in data management, that not everything has to fit into rows and columns, and that's one of the places that really excites me. At the other end of the spectrum, I think one of the really important trends is that business is becoming engaged with BI, increasingly so all the time, so that we have to make a shift such that instead of driving from data toward business, we have to drive from business capabilities down to data and technology through all the appropriate layers. So finally we become business-driven, then requirements-driven, then systems-driven, then data-driven, and then technology-driven.
And that's a huge shift for organizations.
That's an enormous shift.
Do you find that that message that they have to do this is well received, or is that just the very nature of how things are evolving?
I find it really well received. I did a survey when I started teaching the class on Sunday, show of hands, and perhaps a third of the class has more than 10 years of BI experience. And I still got good responses from the class about, although I knew all this stuff is basic stuff, had never had really good perspective on how it all fits together in a sort of a top-down alignment from requirements to technology with all the appropriate steps in the middle. So I think people will embrace it. They've just needed guidance as so many new things have entered the BI space so quickly. Trying to wrap your mind around how to manage all of these pieces and put them into a framework and get the proper alignment from capabilities to technology and get the proper positioning across a timeline. That's all been difficult.
Sure. Sure. So what advice would you give people who are trying to wrap their heads around that? Is there a starting point that they should really focus on?
I think there are 2 things. One is do a careful inventory of what you already have. So many of us have deployed BI things so rapidly that we don't know what all the things we have are. Do a careful inventory of that, and then you know your current state.
Okay. And
then build a roadmap that takes you incrementally to desired future states. A step at a time. I approach it as a rolling quarterly plan. I know where I am in the current quarter. I need to look out 2 to 3 years and plot things on a timeline once a quarter. And then every quarter I need to update and say, did I accomplish my quarter's goals? What's still realistic in what I had planned for the next quarter? What propagates forward? What's changed in technology? What's changed in business? And once a quarter, update my plan so that my BI roadmap becomes a living, breathing document.
Sure, sure. So as all of these things are taking place and as all of the new technologies come into the marketplace, what do you personally see as the most exciting innovation now and looking forward for the next year or so?
Right now, the most exciting thing to me is it's one aspect of the whole big data trend. And it's not brand new, but it has potential to make a real substantial difference, and that is tag data. XML and JSON and tag data. And the breakthrough thing with tag data is that we're no longer dependent on rows and columns, and that gives us tremendous flexibility and agility in data management. In a row column based database, every row needs to contain all of the same columns in the same order of the same size and format. In a tag data stream, each record can vary in terms of the fields that it contains, the sequence that they occur in, the size and the format, because it's self-describing. And what that means is I can add new fields without disrupting any of my existing processes. I can rearrange the order of things without disrupting existing processes. So it's like we've just discovered data agility. And that's a very, very powerful thing. It won't replace relational database management systems, but I believe in the next 2 to 3 years, we will have at least as much data in tag data formats as in relational formats.
Great. Well, I look forward to it. There's tremendous potential there, obviously. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.